How many farmers do we have? All right. What I want to add, because I didn't know before I got here, is I'm approaching food security from the perspective that if the ferries stop running tomorrow, we'll be out of food in 3 days in our supermarkets. So I'm going to be speaking more about food production and distribution. So I'm Rick Julliusson. I'm doing a project through the BC Co-op Association to look at starting food hubs in 3 different parts of BC, the Comox Valley, Cowichan Valley where I live, and the Kootenays. We have funding from Van City and from Investment Agriculture Foundation to make this work happen. So we've already had visioning meetings in all 3 of those communities. We're going with the USDA definition of food hub, which is looking at aggregation, distribution, processing by a lot of local farmers in a way that lets us access bigger markets. But in these visioning meetings, we've also come up with a lot of other ways that cooperatively we could address food security issues, which is what I'll talk about here. This is my beautiful wife. Among raising children in Buffalo and other things, we grow garlic. And 2 years ago, we grew 1,200 garlic and harvested them, and they're gorgeous, juicy things. I burned 250 of them early this year. 250 garlic that I couldn't sell, and then went back. That is my sad story. Because I was so busy gardening and raising kids and consulting that I never got around to marketing them in time. And I didn't have time to make those connections and to get my garlic out there. I also wasn't all that good at preserving them. So my question is, how could cooperatively we have not burned those garlic? How instead of, my wife said I could only grow 800 this year. How could I be growing 1,500 and contributing more to food security? One is access to land. I sold a house in Vancouver, so I bought 5 acres. I'm okay, but not everyone is so lucky. Cooperatively, can we work with the government on making land more available? Can we do creative leasehold agreements, cooperative farms? Together we can come up with solutions. I planted my first garlic in a heart shape on the ground in what turned out to be a thistle batch. I was following someone else's email advice that I had to go naked at midnight in October to plant under a full moon. A bit better education would have been good. And so there are groups within our co-op who are doing that. I use child labor. This is my water buffalo and my children. But cooperatively again, can we share woofers? Can we do internships together? Can we all go to one person's farm one day and someone else's another day? Can we share equipment for that matter? There's a lot we can do together that I can't do by myself. This is my mother when I told her I'm selling garlic at $2 a bulb. Okay? This is 90% of the people on this island who don't understand that local food actually costs more to produce than bringing it from China. I can't even convince my mother. That's not really her, but she's just like that. I can't even convince her. How on earth can I convince 90% of Vancouver Island? But together, we can do that. Now, as a seller, there's a lot of different markets and levels I can sell things at. The best is my farm stand. I've painted it now. This was our first ever customer. He walked up 2 minutes after we opened our stand, handed us $20, said, "I'm going to my mother-in-law's, make me something that'll make her love me." And so we get a great return on sales direct to people. And I do not believe that any co-op movement should interfere with the relationships and the lucrative markets we've already set up. I'm all about additionality. How can we do something that will add to what we produce, add to our income? It could, and CSA is the same. That's something that generally we can do individually or with just a few people. Farmers markets, very similarly. I earned $4 this day and I spent $5 on cookies for my kids. But some people actually do earn money at farmers markets, and great, let them do that. Sometimes co-ops can come together and say, for a few of us, let's take turns going to this market. Or in the Cowichan, we're talking about collectively going down to one of the new Victoria markets that I couldn't do individually, but once a year I could take my turn, throw all my stuff in. Servicing restaurants and stores is very difficult. I don't have, my $800 is not enough to make a restaurant want to deal with me. They want a one-stop shop. They want continuity, they want quantity. Together, we might be able to do that. By the way, at the top of that, Susie said, we make good things happen. I don't know if you saw that. The same with working with hospitals. The new hospital up here might have local purchasing. UVic has 50% local foods. I can't access that, but together, maybe we can. We're looking at capital investment here too. Right? Storage, delivery, marketing, waste. When I couldn't sell my garlic to my high-quality processing kitchen with my child labor, and I created garlic powder and skate butter. But again, I had to package it, I had to market it, and I wasn't able to sell that, let alone convince people that a little thing like this is worth $20 of powder. But together we could create a facility, package it, and market it together. That didn't have to go bad. That could have been part of our food system. If together we had had shared freezer or cooling facility, we could also extend the season and sell that a few months later when it commands double the price at Thrifty's than it does at the peak of the season. So that's something else we can do together. And distribution, you heard, some of us heard today, the city of Nanaimo bought a $78,000 truck. I'm going to ask Cowichan Valley Regional District to do the same. You'll be hearing from me. Because together, we could get that food better from the farm to the market, to the food bank, to the stores. Things don't go bad. We're looking at a co-op structure. It's not the only approach, but co-ops are for the benefit of the members and of the community, not just the people who put a lot of money up front and aren't involved. And it's a democratic process where everyone gets an equal vote if they're a member. So we find this works very well with food hubs. The members of our co-op will be producer-led, primarily farmers who want to see a benefit for what they're growing, but we also need purchasers at the table. We've got Thrifties and other groups. We need the nonprofits and the VHA Food Hub groups, which we have, and government partners, because all those together are players in food security, and together we can address this better. So, punchline to my story, if all these pieces had been in place, I wouldn't have burned 200 garlic. And my wife would have let me grow 1,500 this year instead of 800. And I'd be contributing more to food security on this island. And I'm just one example, but collectively, I could be contributing more, and we'd have more food security on the island. So that's me with my goat that someone gave me at the end of my last meeting. I do take tips. So this movement, I'm finishing a feasibility study and business plan in Comox, Kootenays, and Cowichan. I'm happy to share that information. I'm happy to talk to you about getting something going in your own area. And I'm here for questions. Thank you.
I'm just wondering why you're kind of following this within Nelson. They have kind of like a cooperative setup already.
They have a cooperative setup for like their cooperative store for selling things. But that's just a very limited number of farmers who access that market. So in the visioning meeting there, they said there's a lot more markets they want to reach. And it's not just Nelson. Their region includes Revelstoke and Caslow and a whole bunch of areas. So again, a storefront is one possible way that this co-op can work. But they could develop an online market. They could go into the farmers markets, all these different mechanisms.
Can you talk about some of the challenges in getting, this seems like a great idea to me, it's kind of like all the way to the selling point. Can you talk about some of the challenges of getting more membership or getting more farmers or small farmers to get engaged with the process?
Sure. Past failures. Heritage Co-op and some others have done great work, but in the end the farmers didn't sell any extra carrots. So I'm having to win back trust from those people who have been through this process before. And I'm not dissing any efforts that have happened before. It's been great stuff done. But whatever we put together here, the farmers want to say, 6 months after joining the co-op, I earned $1,000 more than I would have. And then other people are going to come. Capital is another big thing, so we're planning on starting small so that we can just do things that don't require us right away to have an $80,000 truck or a $300,000 storefront with a lot of overhead. So getting something going that people can see and then building on that is how we hope to address that. That's probably the biggest one is farmers are maxed. Farming is hard work. They're coming here because they don't want more meetings and they don't want to spend more time marketing. But the reality of starting a co-op is there's a lot of meetings. Fortunately, with the BC Co-op Association running this, they're paying me to do a lot of the legwork. So I've done all the research and then I just call them back and say, here's the deal, who's in? But then the work's going to start. If they want to run their own co-op, they've got to be there and make it happen. So it's a challenge. Yeah.
I was up at that co-op meeting before it with you, and we had Peter Ladner speak at the end of the National Food Week last week, and I'm going to bring it up again. I've been actually growing food commercially for 25 years. But over the course of the years, I don't think I totally agree with you that farmers are owed too many meetings. What it is farmers just aren't coming to these meetings. And over all the years, I see the same core group of a few farmers in the Comox Valley. What do we have more? Like 200, 400. It's 5 or 6 that show up repeatedly year after year. The farmer isn't engaging in these conversations. One of the things we were talking about is policies are being made that don't really include the farmer, but we have to take some of the responsibility for that. We're not attending these talks, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is that we can't engage farmers more at these sessions.
And part of that was, on one of my slides, I emphasized producer-led. It's convincing these farmers that this is their initiative. This isn't talking heads, this isn't nonprofits. They're doing good work and they are members at the table, that this is a farmer-led thing. And once people see that, and once they see some results, then hopefully some of the others will start joining. And yes, it's going to fall on that same people to get it going probably. But once it is going, then I see more coming. That's my hope.
I worked with Heritage too, and I remember. And one of the things we did was, at the beginning, before it was Heritage Research Club, we went out to the farm. We went to find out what they're growing, farms around Nanaimo. And what we found is they were growing hay. But what I'm thinking in answer to your question is, go to the farm. Perhaps a willing farmer can host a meeting, even if it's outside. Just an idea.
I've been beating the bush, beating the farms into Cowichan, going to the farmers markets, going through Cowichan Green Community and the people who have these links, the Farmers Institute, Agricultural Society. So I have been doing direct outreach to the farmers. In the Cowichan, we had over 80 farmers at the first meeting. It's huge. 1 and then 2.
Barbara, I think it's also it's a personality thing, and I'm a meeting junkie. I meetings all the time. My husband is a shellfish grower. You couldn't drag me to a meeting, even if it's something really doesn't work. He'll go to the shellfish growers at 8 a.m., but all through the rest of the year, he's like, I got better things to do than sit around the table and I think it is a personality thing.
Oh, I agree.
It's all you know.
I'm about to get cut off, so one more question.
I'm just wondering, with the land and the equipment sharing, would that be purchased or existing machinery would be done on a lending basis within the co-op?
Yes.
Or would it be purchased however?
Any of those, right? You know, cooperatively, we tend to own pretty much all the equipment we need if we look at what everyone has. Some bigger pieces, we'd love to have an abattoir was one example in the Comox actually. So collectively we could get that kind of equipment, or a chipper. I want to have a chipper in my area.